Hello everyone guys. A very good morning to each and everybody and welcome to our YouTube channel. So this is Sriman Narayan, and first of all I would like to give my introduction. So basically guys, I am just I can say data science practitioner. I belongs to mathematical background, and now currently I am working as a computer vision engineer. So basically I am having a skill set of machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, and NLP. So basically I can say I am working as a AI engineer. And now guys, so as I have promised that I have to come with a new deep learning kind of series. So basically today I'm ready for that series. And from past some 5 to 6 days actually I was not getting any free time. I was busy in my office works. I was busy in my some regular works. So that's why I was not getting any kind of free timing. But today I have decided no, okay, fine. So there is a too much delay, and now I have to start this series as soon as it is possible. So basically, first of all, so in the first episode, actually I was just elaborating that what are the different topics inside this deep learning series I'm going to cover. So we had a talk with I can say some different peoples there. So today I'm just going to start because again there are lots of people who are waiting for this deep learning series because again they are proficient in machine learning, they are good in stats, but in terms of DL, so there are lots of people who are not aware and who are not knowing lots of things in deep learning. And basically if you guys are looking forward to make a career transition in this data science field, so basically today's trend is each and everybody is looking for a DL skill. If you are not fit for a DL skill, if you are not having a DL skill, I think you are lacking something. And this is the position where deep learning comes to picture, because again using machine learning, using machine learning we can go with some different tasks. We can solve all of the all of those problems using AI. But again deep learning is I can say a subset of machine learning, where we are going to use some different kind of some specific kind of architecture, some specific kind of algorithms which are much more flexible than machine learning algorithms, and which is going to give you a very good kind of accuracy, a very good kind of results for your problem. Basically whether it should be related to a computer vision problem, whether it should be related to a I can say NLP kind of problem, so each and every field, this deep learning is very much important guys. And on top of machine learning, you are supposed to learn deep learning as well. So I think it's all about the background behind deep learning on top of machine learning. Now from today I'm going to start my deep learning series, right? So basically guys, I think I will be just coming in the similar way, and I will try to make some 1 or 1.5 hours video each and every day. And in this way I'm going to cover each and every things related to a deep learning. So basically if you are going to give a interview for a data science position, so basically they will be looking for some kind of deep learning exposures inside you, right? So whether you are having a fair amount of ample amount of knowledge in deep learning or not, whether you are good in using different kind of optimizers or not, whether you are good in where you are good in designing a neural networks kind of architecture or not. So these all things we will be having a very much control, very much I can say efficiency, if we can uh, study these things carefully. So fine guys, now let's start with the class. And basically first of all I would just like to open a kind of notebook file. So just wait for that guys. So I think I have created some kind of notes, some kind of notebooks. So basically I will try to use that particular notebooks, and then along with it, so for each and every topic I will try to give you some kind of things. I mean some kind of material, some kind of notes to all of you guys, basically in terms of code implementations, in terms of some theoretical I can say theoretical notes. So all of those things I will try to share with you. But first of all, we have to go with the video series, right? So fine, I will try to go with yeah, okay. Oh yeah, fine. So there, deep learning, and now I have to open this Jupyter notebook, right? Okay, so I think I am using a Linux machine. So basically here you are not getting a direct Jupyter notebook icon. So you have to launch this Jupyter notebook using your terminal. And again, so Linux is also a very important thing, guys, if you are looking for making a transition. So but I think I will be just I will be coming with a Linux video as well. So just wait for some time. Yeah, I think it has been opened. Okay, so I will just try to move here artificial neural networks file, which will be our first file, right? And from here we will try to start. See guys, so this deep learning is not a new thing for us, right? This deep learning is not a fancy kind of thing for all of us, because you know, so there are various kind of things people have already implemented, and people have adapted this particular deep learning field from, I can say, from all those previous, I can say, implementations, right? So this we can say that this deep learning is not a new or a fancy thing. It's just, I can say, a replica of I can say our previous works, right? So basically in terms of we were having something already with us. I think maybe this AI field is getting popular in you know, before this 2 to 4 years maybe, or maybe 5 to 6 years, or maybe 10 to 20 years. Beyond this timelines, actually there was not any concept of this AI, this ML or DL maybe. Again, people were trying to imagine, they were, you know, getting some kind of imagination. But again, there were at that point of time there were not too much kind of researches has been happened, and again people were not too much able to deal with this kind of things. But again, we were having this kind of architecture, this kind of, you know, concept already. And even if I can say, so basically, so actually how actually I'm correlating, so already, you know, people tries to say that no, actually this particular AI field is just evolving from this 10 to 15 years. But I will say no, before this, these things will exist, this intelligence type of thing will exist. So now we will try to just connect these things. So basically guys, first of all, you know, so uh, here this artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is what, guys? Artificial intelligence is a type of, I can say, a kind of a mechanism in which we are going to train our computer system, by using which we are going to train our computer system to I can say, to make it possible to use our computer system for solving our day-to-day tasks, like as, so there are lots of things that we have to, you know, we have to do. We as a human being, we are going to perform each and every kind of task. But using this AI, we humans are, you know, we humans are supposed to use this AI for doing solving each and every problems which we are going to face, right? We are going to face this kind of problems. So guys, now actually, you know, this intelligence is not a new thing for us. You know, if we can compare about a animal or a human being, so what is the difference between between an animal or a human being? So the major difference between an animal or a human being is that human being is having some kind of intelligence. Human being is able to decide, okay fine, so what is good for us, what is not good for us. A human being is able to decide that, okay, fine, now what we have to do in this particular situation. So these all things we can decide, we can understand, we can try to implement our intelligence. But animals are not aware too much. They have some kind of intelligence, guys. I'm not saying that they are not having intelligence, but they are having intelligence. But it's not like that animals will try to do your works. Animals are having some kind of intelligence, but they are not able to solve a mathematical problem, or they will not be able to solve any kind of business problems. These things are not happening with the in case of animals. But we humans, we are doing these things. And the major thing behind this particular we humans are able to do this kind of things only because of our mind, because of our brain. So we human beings have our brain, and this brain is far capable to learn something, understand something, make some kind of context, get some kind of decision, do some kind of comparisons. So there are lots of things that our human brain is it is responsible for doing these all things. And we are using our human brain to solve our this kind of task. And the same kind of intelligence, guys, we have just copied, we have just adapted into the field of AI. This AI is not it's not a new thing for us. I mean, it's new for us. Actually, it was not evolving too much before some 10 to 15 years. But again, using the mathematics, using the programming, using some other concepts, now we guys have adapted the same intelligence into this level. And here, from here, we have developed different kinds of fields. The first one field is your machine learning. Second one is your deep learning. Third one maybe reinforcement learning. And so there will be different kind of researches people have did. And now at this point of time, we people have a very I can say very developed technologies, very developed system, which will be able to understand some kind of pattern, which will be able to understand some kind of context, which will be able to get some kind of give some kind of decision, or maybe which will be able to detect some kind of pattern, sorry, not pattern, which will be able to what I can say, I mean, whatever things we are going to do today, basically in terms of maybe computer vision, maybe in terms of NLP, maybe in terms of each and every field, we are evolving this artificial intelligence. So this is the artificial intelligence, guys. Now inside this artificial intelligence, you are going to get these things. So the one is the machine learning, and the other is deep learning. So we all guys are aware about machine learning. So what is machine learning? So machine learning is basically, so again there is a I can say machine learning, actually there is a one people, actually I'm not able to recall his name, unfortunately, pardon me. So he have given a definition that, again, so machine learning is a type of mechanism so which we are using for a computer system to I actually I'm not able to recall. So okay, sorry for that, sorry for that. So basically, actually I'm not able to recall, but it's a very it's a very popular statement given by one people who was a data scientist, and again who was trying to do this kind of researches. So basically he have said that machine learning is a kind of mechanism in which we are going to give a type of capability to our systems without explicitly programmed, right? I think some Arthur kind of name. So people, actually I am not able to recall his name. So there was some kind of a statement. So yeah, it's correct. Machine learning is a type of mechanism. Machine learning is a type of methodology or a type of process by using which we are going to make our system so much trained that it will try to use this intelligence to solve our work. And as we have seen in terms of machine learning, there are various types of algorithms, various kinds of algorithms, like as maybe supervised algorithm, unsupervised algorithms, maybe semi supervised algorithms. So we are going to use all those algorithms to solve our task, right? There we were having some kind of data, some kind of data, because again, so AI will machine learning will it is getting implemented over the data. So again, if we can talk about, if we can try to compare a human being or a computer system, same story is there, same story is there. So basically you can try to correlate this thing. So whenever if there is a newbie baby who is just 2 or 3 years old, he's not having too much knowledge, guys. He don't knows how to speak, he don't knows how to learn something, he don't knows how to maybe walk, or he don't knows anything, he don't knows how to say anything to anyone. And these are the things. And again, as that child is growing, as day by day that child is getting growing, so he is getting trained, he is getting trained by his family, by his mother, by his father, by his any family members. He is getting trained day by day, and in those trainings he is getting each and every kind of learnings. Okay, fine. Okay, now tell me, mom, dad, okay, tell me A, B, C, D, kind of things. So we always try to feed these things to our kids, right? And our kid is getting trained day by day. And if we can talk about maybe people who is in his in graduation, who is doing some kind of BTech or maybe engineering or maybe studying computer science. So it's not like that a kid who is just who is just a newbie, who is nothing, who is knowing nothing, and he's just going to study computer science. No, it's not a one day job. In a one day nobody is getting too much kind of trainings. So what is happening here? So whether it's a computer system or whether it's a human being, it is very necessary to solve any kind of problem, to give any kind of decision. We have to first of all train ourselves. If you are not able to train yourself for those kind of situations, then for sure you are not going to make any kind of decision, you will not going to implement your intelligence, because this intelligence is not a kind of data that we are going to transfer from our laptop to our brain. It's not a kind of thing, because again at this point of time we are not too much evolved that okay fine, so we will try to connect our brain with our computer. So again, movies, you can try to take this kind of imaginations in movies, but it's not possible. There are only two ways, guys, only two ways. There are only two options that you have to share, you have to feed some kind of data inside your brain. One is your eyes, second one is your ears. Only two input devices you are having, and using these two input devices we human beings are getting trained day by day, and then we will be able to use our intelligence for our daily works. So in the same way, guys, a computer system is getting trained, and for that kind of training we will be having we will require some kind of data. So this all data, this all things, it will try to take, it will try to assume, and over this data it will try to train itself. It will try to understand, okay fine, what is the pattern inside this data, available inside this data, and then after getting that pattern it will try to fit itself. It will try to fit itself according to the data, and then it will try to give you a kind of model in a very layman way. But what is a model, guys? A model is a kind of just a mathematical relationship, just a kind of mathematical equation which we are going to first of all find in the data, and then after finding that relationship we are going to build that relationship in terms of a mathematical equation, in terms of some kind of variables, some kind of features, and then that mathematical relationship is known as a AI model, whether it's a machine learning model or whether it's a deep learning model. So that will be just a mathematical equation. So now in terms of machine learning, guys, we have studied about various kind of tasks like a supervised learning, maybe unsupervised learning, maybe semi-supervised learning, maybe different kind of things we have learned. And again in that situations, guys, I can say that fine, okay, so in terms of supervised learning, we will be dealing with some kind of data where label is also present with along with the features, and this label column is going to supervise each and every training process. In terms of unsupervised learning, so label is not going to be present, and we are going to use only the features column, and on the basis of those feature columns we are going to categorize, we are going to grouping, or we are going to going to cluster our data set based on some different kind of properties, maybe on I can say some different specific kind of features. We are going to make some different kinds of clusters. Fine. So this is a thing, this is a way where machine learning is going to work. And in terms of machine learning, we have even studied about some regression, some algorithms for regression task, maybe like as linear regression is there, SVM regression is there, SVM not actually, support vector regressor or support vector machine regressor, as we have studied. Then maybe decision tree regressor, then maybe a random forest regressor, then maybe a XGBoost regressor. And so in that way we are going to use some different kind of regressor algorithms. In terms of classification, guys, we have logistic regression, we have a decision tree classification, we have random forest classification, we have KNN best classification, we have, I can say, XGBoost classification. And again, there are a lot of algorithms, but again, so these are the popular ones which I have just here I have just recalled. Again, in terms of unsupervised processes, so maybe for clustering approaches, we are going to use some kind of clustering algorithms, which will be, I can say, K-means algorithm, maybe K-means plus. Then there is a hierarchical clustering, there is a DBSCAN, and there are various 6 to 7 algorithms as well, but these 3 are the very popular one and very good one. Now guys, again, no any algorithm is good or no any algorithm is bad. So what is there? So basically there are dozens of algorithms available in terms of machine learning, and we can use these algorithms as per our need. So whichever algorithm is giving you a best result, best accuracy, you can implement, you can use that algorithm for your task, for your problem statement. So these are the thing in terms of machine learning. Now you have a data, you have did some kind of EDA, some kind of feature engineering, some kind of, I can say, model you have chosen, and you have finally fitted a model over your data. Now what will happen? So in terms of fitting any kind of algorithms over our data, so basically these algorithms are supposed to do what? So these algorithms are supposed to give you some kind of predictions, some kind of forecastings. Okay. Now, so whatever predictions and whatever forecastings these algorithms are giving to you, so there are a huge possibility that those results will not be correct. And for that you are going to calculate some different kind of loss functions. So basically you are going to calculate a kind of loss, and then on the basis of that loss, these algorithms are going to try to optimize themselves. These algorithms are going to fit themselves, and then after various iterations of the training, and finally we are going to get a best fitted model, I mean a model with a best values. So in this way machine learning is going to work, guys. Again, if you are not able to understand these things in a too much quick way, so basically you can navigate to some other resources basically there, so you will having too much depth knowledge in terms of machine learning or maybe in terms of AI. So yeah, that is fine. Now for deep learning, there are some kind of prerequisites. You should be aware about how machine learning is working. I mean in terms of not in a very depth, but maybe some basics you need to know. Now some kind of pre-processing steps you will need, some kind of in terms of programming, it is very much recommended that you should know this each and everything. And then in terms of statistics, so statistics is getting evolved, is getting used in terms of machine learning a lot, but in terms of deep learning, so we are not going to use too much statistics. It is getting used for normalization or maybe some other different kind of things, but not too much, what I can say as per my knowledge. So but yeah, mathematics is a very, I can say, important thing that you are going to use here, mathematics. So basically maybe in terms of any other neural networks, mathematics is getting used. And if we can talk about the mathematical topics, so basically it will be good if you are having your roots inside mathematical backgrounds. Basically there are not a very huge requirement in terms of mathematics, but yeah, you will need calculus, in terms of differentiation, in terms of maxima and minima, in terms of getting differentials. You will be able to know what is the first order differential, what is the second order differentials. Then in linear algebra, you will be well aware about matrices, some previous elementary matrices operations like as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division kind of things. Maybe in terms of adjoint, inverse, or maybe some kind of determinants, maybe a system of linear equations in some kind of variables. These are the things which are important. Eigenvalues, eigenvectors, you will need. Although you are not going to calculate these things with yourself using hardcore mathematics, but yeah, there are codes available. You are going to use all those codes, but yeah, you will need a fair amount of understanding, because if I will be going to talk about how this particular thing is going to happen, what is a vector, what is a tensor, then in that way you will need something, you will need a kind of background in mathematics. Then in terms of vectors, so yeah, vectors is also needed. Again, in terms of vectors, so vector algebra is a kind of topic inside of mathematics, and from there you have to study how a vector is getting how what are the different basic elementary operations we are going to perform over vectors. So these are the prerequisites, guys, that we have to follow, and we have to we should need in terms of studying the deep learning. Now coming to the point, so here this deep learning is I can say it's a generalized field of machine learning, whether we are not going to use those ML algorithms. Here we are going to deal with different kind of neural networks. Neural networks means what is a neural, or what it means neural word, and what is the meaning of this network. So okay, fine. So actually, as I have said, this deep learning has been adapted from some kind of technology which we are having from thousands of years. So basically, if we guys can talk about the existence of humans in this world, on this planet, so maybe you will not be able to give any exact kind of idea. That from again, people will try to declare, people will try to challenge, people will try to say that okay, fine, there are maybe the people will humans are existing on this planet from this 5,000 years or maybe 7,000 years, some approximate figures. But again, I don't recommend those things, because again, this is a kind of, I can say, topic which depends upon various factors. But again, so maybe it should be 5,000 years or 7,000 years or more than I can say lakhs of years or whatever. I am not actually able to recall all those things, and I am actually not going to talk about those things. But from that point of time, when humans are getting started existing on this planet, this humans are getting this getting their brains, human brains. And when we can talk about human brains, so in a human brains we are having some kind of units which are able to understand, which are able to control something, which we are able to process some kind of data, process some kind of signals. So there is something, and that particular unit is known as, I can say, cerebral cortex. Inside a human brain there is a cerebral cortex, and inside that cerebral cortex we are having a very small unit, that is the neuron. So if we can talk about biological neuron, so biological neuron, BNN, is an unusual looking shell mostly found in animal cerebral cortexes, therefore your brain. So basically in terms of animal or maybe in a human brain, composed of a cell body containing the nucleus and most of the cell's complex component and many branching extensions called dendrites, plus one very long extension called the axon. So in this way we will be having our brain. Inside a brain there is something known as cortex, cerebral cortex. Inside that cerebral cortex there is something that is neuron. What are these neurons? So basically, if you guys are belonging from a biological background, maybe neuroscience, maybe biology, or maybe anything regarding it, so you will be well aware about these neurons, that these neurons are the smallest unit of our brain, and these neurons are responsible for getting some kind of decision, making some kind of decision. Now this is a kind of architecture of a neuron, where this is a cell body, this is something endoplasmic reticulum, a mitochondrion is there. There is these kind of boards are known as dendrite branches. Golgi apparatus is this one, and axon. So this long tail is known as axon. This is the telodendria, synaptic terminals. And so in this way there are thousands, not thousands, there are millions and billions of neurons available inside a single brain, whether it's a brain of human being or whether it's a brain of animals. So tons of millions and billions of neurons are available here, and these all neurons are getting connected with each and everything, right? So guys, just wait. Okay, so actually I was getting some kind of disturbances, but yeah, fine. So yeah, so I was talking about these neurons, and these neurons are getting connected with each another, and there are millions and billions of neurons available inside a single brain. So these all neurons are getting connected with this kind of connection, and in this way these neurons are going to form a kind of network. So this is the network, which we can say multiple layers in a biological neural network. So this is a kind of this is a diagram or maybe architecture of a human cortex. So here guys, there are various neurons connected with each and everybody, and in this way it is going to create a kind of network. So we can term this thing as a neural networks, because it's a network of neurons. So it's just a neural network. So neural network is nothing, it's just I can say a kind of network, a kind of connections between various neurons. So the same neuron, the same kind of concept we have adapted from our human brain to this AI, here in this field of AI. Same kind of neural networks architecture guys we have implemented, and we have evolved this field, and as of now we are having thousands of neural networks available for our each and every works. So yeah, this is the deep learning, and this deep learning field is getting revolving around this neural network architecture. So first of all we will try to talk about what is artificial neural networks, maybe in terms of a simple neural networks, whether we will try to know about how a neural networks architecture is getting designed. What is the working of a neural network? What are the various different terminologies getting involved inside a neural network? And along with it, we will try to know how this particular neural network is going to control or going to process its learning. There will be various different terms and terminologies guys, but yeah, we will try to understand each and everything in a easiest possible way. So this is a deep learning, and this kind of write-ups you can try to go with yourself. Fine. Now without wasting our time, I will just try to propagate, but yeah, so fine, there is something logical computations with neurons, you can go with this one. I have just prepared this kind of write-ups from a very popular book. So basically in terms of understanding how these things are getting developed, so you can go with this one, these write-ups. Now there is something known as perceptrons. So perceptrons is what? So when we talk about neurons, so neurons is a word which is getting used inside by neuroscience or maybe biology, but in terms of AI, this neuron is known as perceptron. So whether you can say it neuron or maybe perceptron, doesn't matter, so both are the same things. Now diagram of an artificial neural networks. Okay, so here in this diagram, see, this is the diagram of a artificial neural network. When we will you will try to search about this architecture, this kind of architecture, maybe about neural networks or something over Google, so you will get a similar kind of figure. There will be some kind of round shapes, and there will be some kind of linings. So this will be a typical kind of diagram you will be able to get over the Google. But yeah, so today actually getting each and everything, getting explanations about these round structures and these linings, so it's not possible if you are a beginner. But yeah, basically we will try to explain each and every things in a bits and pieces, and then you will be able to know. Fine. Now I will try to give you a small overview, right? So this is a kind of architecture, guys. This is a kind of diagram of a neural networks architecture, you can say. In this architecture, see here, this is L0, right? And this P1, this round circle is a perceptron, or maybe this is a neuron. Fine. This is also a neuron, and this is also a neuron. And these three neurons are in a similar line. Maybe I can say these three neurons are vertical, in a vertical line, or maybe in a vertical sequence. So these three neurons are said to be in a single layer. This particular this is known as a single layer. This is one layer, and here each and everything will be happening with a layer. So this is one layer, this is first layer, and this first layer is getting denoted as L0, or maybe L0 layer. So this is the L0 layer, where we are having P1 neuron, P1 perceptron, P2 perceptron, P3 perceptrons. Now coming to this layer, this is second layer, guys, which is L1 layer. In L1 layer, we are having P1 perceptron, P2 perceptron. Again, P1, P2, P3, L0, L1, these are only the notations. So we can give any kind of notations to these things. But again, L0, L1 is fine. So this is the L1 layer. This is the second layer. Now there will be a third layer. This is the third layer, L2 layer. So there may be millions of layers available inside a neural network. It's possible. But there will be some kind of rules, some kind of regulations, some kind of patterns which people are going to follow in terms of designing a architecture. So what is happening? So in any kind of neural networks, there will be this network, there will be this layer, and there will be this layer. Okay. So this layer is known as input layer. This layer is known as input layer. The first layer is known as input layer, and this last layer is known as output layer. Fine. Now, in any kind of neural networks architecture, there must be these two different layers will be available. Input layer will be available and output layer will be available. This two layer must be available. And what about these intermediate layers, guys? So actually in this figure, in this architecture, there is only a single layer in between input layer and output layer, but maybe there will be some 2 layer, 3 layers somewhere, maybe 5 layers, maybe 10 layers, maybe 20 layers, maybe 50 layers, maybe 100 layers, maybe 200 layers, or maybe 500 layers. So it will depend. So as I have said, this layer is known as input layer, this layer is known as output layer, this layer is known as hidden layer. Whatever layer will getting existed between input layer and output layer, this all many layers will be termed as hidden layers, or maybe a dense layer, right? So hidden layer or dense layer. So here in this architecture we are having a input layer, a dense layer, or a input layer, or output layer. Now what is happening? So this is the input layer. What is the function of this input layer? What is the purpose of this input layer? What will happen here? So what is happening? So basically think, we have a kind of tabular data where we are getting some kind of features in terms of columns. So maybe x1 column will be there, x2 column will be there, x3 column will be there will be a target column, and there will be various rows, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, or maybe in terms of record 1, record 2, record 3, rows and records are the same thing. So in a tabular data, or maybe whatever data, like as maybe iris data set or maybe a Titanic data set, so those kind of data set are known as tabular data, where you are going to get your data in terms of a rows, or maybe in terms of a column, or maybe in terms of a table. So those tabular data is available, and now you are going to create, you are going to design a neural networks architecture for this particular data, tabular data. So how you are going to design a architecture? So first of all, we will try to create this input layer. Okay, we will try to create this round structure. Okay, 1 neuron, 2 neuron, 3 neuron, but how many neuron? Is it a hard and fast rule? Is it a rule that okay fine, we are going we will need 3 neurons, or maybe we will need 5 neurons, or maybe 10 neurons? How much neurons you have to create in this input layer? How much neurons? How we are going to decide this thing? So the number of neurons in this input layer is getting decided that how many columns you are having inside your data set. How many columns? Different columns. Whichever columns you are going to utilize for your learning, whichever columns you are going to utilize for your training. So how many columns are available there? So basically guys, if I can talk about machine learning, so basically in machine learning maybe we are having some 10 to 15 columns. Fine, suppose we have a data in which we have 10 to 15 columns. Now in this 15 column, there may be some kind of column which will be not relevant for your model, which you are not going to use anywhere, any else. There may be some columns which you are going to use. There may be some kind of columns which will be, you know, so maybe I can categorize these columns in terms of some 2 or 3 factor. So in any kind of data, in any kind of tabular data set, so there may be some kind of column which is relevant, which is significant, which is important for your model building, right? There will be some kind of columns which will not be good, which will not be important for you, like as maybe names column. So what guys you are going to do with names column? Maybe in the iris data set, or maybe in the terms of Titanic data set, are you guys going to use that column, name columns? So it will depend upon different data, different problem statement. It will depend, but there may be some kind of columns available which you are not going to use, or maybe there will be some kind of columns available which you are not going to use directly, but you are going to transform that column into a mathematical representation, and then you are going to use that column. Like as maybe if I can talk about a column sex, so in terms of sex column there will be male, there will be female. So are you going to use male or female? Is it possible that your ML algorithm is getting, you know, your ML algorithm is able to understand that okay fine, this is the male word and I have to do some kind of operations with male word? No, because artificial intelligence, or maybe ML, this things, AI is not going to understand any bits and pieces in terms of words. It is going to understand only 2 things, 0 and 1, as we all know from computer science background. If you are belonging to, so maybe you will be going with some different kinds of things, and basically will be knowing that okay fine, so computer system is you know, it's working with only 0 or 1. It is not going to understand cat, dog, human being, anything, not going to understand. So whatever data we are having, we are supposed to transform our data first of all into a mathematical representation, and then after we will be able to feed our data, right, inside the model. So for changing our data, like as this categorical feature, maybe a male or female, we are going to use some kind of encoding techniques, maybe label encoding, maybe we can use one-hot encoding, and in this way, using encoding techniques, we are going to transform our columns into some kind of mathematical representation. So yeah, there may be some kind of column which you can directly use, which you can't directly use, which you can use after doing some kind of encoding, some kind of transformation, or maybe there will be some kind of columns which you are going to derive from existing columns. So there will be different thing. There will be different factors which will depend upon the different use cases, different situations. But after doing each and every kind of pre-processing steps, pre-processing means what? So data pre-processing is a step where you are going to prepare your data. Prepare means what? So we are supposed to prepare our data in such a way that okay fine, our data will be suitable for training of the model, because your model is not able to understand your English words. It is just only, it will only understand the mathematical representations, maybe 1 2 3, these things only, integers or maybe floats only, nothing else. So we are supposed to what transform these things, convert these things into a mathematical representation, and then we can say now our data is pre-processed. In terms of pre-processing, we guys are doing various kinds of steps we are trying to perform over our data. Maybe in terms of standardization we are going to perform, we are going to use normalization kind of things for featuring our scaling our data set in certain range. So there are lots of things we are going to use, we are going to implement over our data for doing pre-processing. Now once your data is getting pre-processed, then we are going to split our data into train and test. So this is a thing, this is the sequence that we guys are already using in terms of machine learning, right? So when your data is ready, it is pre-processed well, and now you are going to split your data set into test and train, right? Two things, maybe two buckets: train directory or maybe test directory, or maybe train data, training data, or maybe testing data. So that kind of pre-processed data we are going to use here. As we all know, training data we are going to use for model training. So the same training data we are going to take here. In that training data there may be some columns, and whichever columns will be there, all columns are supposed to be mathematical representations in terms of numbers, or maybe integers, or maybe in floating point number. And so there may be some maybe 5 column, there may be 10 column, there may be 15 column, there may be any column. And in terms of rows, there may be 100 rows, 200 rows, 500 rows, it will depend. But the number of neurons in this input layer will depend upon how many total number of columns you are having inside your data set. If you are having total number of 15 columns, you will take 15 neurons in this layer. If you are having 10 columns, then try to take 10 neurons here. If you are having 100 columns, then take 100 neurons here. So the number of neurons in this layer will depend upon the total number of columns available inside your data set. Okay, fine. Now coming to this output layer. In this output layer, how we are going to decide how many neurons I have to keep, how many neurons we have to pick, or maybe we have to use. So fine. If you are going to do some kind of regression task where you are going to predict whether you are going to predict any kind of continuous values, continuous variable, or maybe you will be aware about regression. In terms of regression, we are going to predict a value. Okay, predict a value. So in case of regression, there will be a single neuron. A single neuron will try to give you your final outputs. But if your problem is classification, then you are supposed to take here multiple neurons. And how much multiple neurons you will take? So the number of neurons in this output layer will depend upon the total number of classes available inside your data. If you are going to deal with a binary class classification, then there will be two classes, positive class, negative class, and in that case there will be 2 neurons. If there are 10 classes, then 10 neurons here, and if there will be 20 classes, then 20 neurons here in this output layer. So in this way we will be able to place this many neurons inside this input layer and inside this output layer. Now it is fine. Now what is happening? So whatever columns we are having, fine, whatever columns we are having, maybe x1 column, x2 column, x3 column. So as I have said, we will be having we will be having n number of neurons if we are having n number of column. So what will happen? Now we will try to ingest, we will try to start the ingesting of our data inside this network, right? Inside this network, actually I have just leave some of the things, some of the terms, concepts behind this one. So I will try to explain each and everything, but first of all understand. So I will just start ingesting our data inside this network. So what will happen? So there maybe I can say is, actually I think I'm not using a epic pen, so it will be able to, okay, I will try to okay, just wait. Okay, fine. So maybe there will be possible that there will be a kind of data where x1, then just try to wait. I will just try to organize this data for you. Okay, so there will not be, yeah, and here it will be one row, and a set. So yeah, so here in terms of x1 maybe there will be 2, then there will be 4, then there will be there will be 6. Fine. So I think we are having some kind of this kind of tabular data we are having. So this is the one row, and similarly we will be having 100 row, 200 rows, 300 rows, and these are the features: x1 feature, x2 feature, x3 feature, or maybe there will be some kind of y values as well. So in terms of y, so we will be having y here, maybe here 5, right? So what will happen? Now here we are having 4 different features, 4 different columns: first column, second column, third column, fourth column. Okay, now what will happen? So we are going to create 3 different neurons for this data, and there is no any particular architecture, there is no any particular rule that we are going to create only this neural network, we are going to create only this many neurons. No, there is no any rule in this one. There are some only general rules, and following those general rules we are going to create our own neural network for our data. So for this data, how we are going to create a neural networks? So for x1 column we are going to create this neuron, x2 this one, x3 this one, right? Okay, now what will happen? Now I will try to start ingesting this data inside this network. What will happen? So first of all, actually there is some kind of mechanism, so where you are going to use for this ingesting. I will try to talk about that later, but first of all, this one record will try to move here, and it will try to enter inside this network. So x1 will come here, x1 input, x1 will come to here, it will try to enter inside this neuron. x2 will come here, and x3 will come here. Fine. Okay, now the main purpose, the main objective behind this input layer is only a single purpose. There is only a single responsibility behind creating this input layer. This input layer will be only responsible for getting inputs from your data. There will no any other responsibilities. This input layer will be responsible for getting only the inputs. It will try to take the inputs from your data. Fine. And the purpose of this output layer is to give you the final outputs. So whatever processing we have did till this point, we will try to give a kind of final output from this layer. So this output layer is supposed to give you the final predictions, final forecastings. Fine. Now we are having our data inputs here at this particular place, input layer, and we are having this output layer. So this input layer has taken your inputs, and this output layer will try to give you the final outputs. Now suppose for a while, these intermediate things, wait. So these intermediate things will not exist. If I will try to chop off, if I will try to remove these intermediate things, then what will happen? What will happen then? So guys, in this term, what will happen? So there will only be a single input layer, there will be one output layer, and whatever things we will try to input here in the network, it will just get outputted from this output layer, and we will not be able to do any kind of processing, any kind of I can say any kind of what, we will not be able to do any kind of work with our data. We will not be able to understand our data, we will not be able to get any kind of pattern between our data, and we will not be able to make a feasible decision, a feasible output from our data. So what people have did, so people means that researchers, so what researchers have did, so they have introduced some kind of intermediate layers, some kind of intermediate layers they have introduced. So there may be one layer in between, there may be two layers in between, there may be three layers in between. It will depend upon you, maybe, or not you, it will depend upon your data, upon your problem use cases, it will depend over the situations. So what people have introduced, so people were said that okay fine guys, so we have created a kind of neural networks here, we are having this input layer, we are having this output layer, fine, we are able to ingest our data, data is available here, and this is our output layer, we are able to flow the data in this architecture, in this network, and we are able to get some kind of output. But is this a right way, is this a right way to do processing, is this the right thing that we are going to do? I say no. And again, whatever things you are going to use here, whatever implementations you are going to do, whatever changes you are going to do, so by doing that change, by doing that implementations, if you are getting a good result, then I can say your network is good, I can say your work is good, because each and every implementations, each and every changes will just try to yield you a final result. And these all things you are able to make, but if you are not able to get a good decision, if you are not able to get a good result, then I think this is not feasible. Maybe in terms of machine learning guys, we will be going to build some different multiple models over a single data. And why we are going to do this kind of work, why multiple model, why not a single model? So we are going to use a logistic regression. Suppose if I am going to work with a kind of classification task, so basically we will be, first of all, we will be going to use logistic regression. If logistic regression is not going to give you a good result, maybe we will try to proxy it with SVM, support vector classification or classifier. If again it will not give you a good result, we will go with decision tree, we will go with KNN, we will go with decision tree, we will be going with I can say random forest, we will be going with maybe XGBoost or maybe other boosting kind of algorithms. So there we are going to use multiple models, right, multiple algorithms, and whichever algorithms is giving you a good result, we are going to finalize that one. So the same thing we are doing here guys. What people have did, people were thinking okay fine, so we have input layer, we have output layer, but again our result is not good. So now what we have to do, what the change we have to do? So they were actually thinking about okay fine, so we have designed this neural network, but again we are not going to get a good result, our results are not good, we are going to get a huge losses. So what we will try to do? So keeping all those things in mind, people have introduced some kind of more layers, some kind of intermediate layers in between this input layer and this output layer, and those intermediate layers are known as hidden layers or maybe a dense layer. Fine. Okay. Now how many layers you can place in this between? How many layers? 5 layers, 2 layers, 3 layers, 1 layer, or maybe 100 layers, maybe thousands layers. How many layers you will place here? How many layers? Or inside a layer, how many neurons you are going to place? So here we are having 3 neurons because we are having 3 feature. Here we are having a single neuron because we are going to deal with a regression task. Okay, fine. We have decided that how many neurons we will be having inside our input layer, inside our output layers. But in terms of a dense layer, how many neurons we are supposed to have? So for getting this kind of answers, we will try to do some kind of experiments with ourselves. First of all, we will go with some random number. We will be going with 5 hidden layers in very beginning, because in very beginning we don't have any idea that okay, fine, there will be 5 layer, or there will be 6 layer, or there may be 20 layer. We don't have any idea, so we will just start with random number. We will just try to place 5 hidden layers in between. Means I am just saying hypothetically. You can also try to place 10 layers or maybe 100 layers. Any number you can try to take. Now inside those layers, how many neurons you are going to place? So for this also, you will be going with some random number, maybe 5 neurons inside a layer, maybe 10 neurons inside a layer, maybe 500 neurons inside a layer, or maybe thousands of neurons you are going to use inside a layer. So in this way, you are going to introduce some other layers, maybe in terms of a hidden layer or maybe in terms of a dense layer. And here, by doing some kind of experiments, we are going to get this particular number, that how many dense layers we will be able to use here. We will be placing here. I mean, any if you are going to deal with any kind of problem. So basically in the very first beginning, you are not having any idea, but you will be having some basic idea that first of all, I have to design this input layer, then I have to design an output layer, and in terms of hidden layer, we will be just going with random numbers, number of layers in terms of a random number, and number of neurons inside each and every hidden layers. It will also be a kind of random number we will be going to take. And then there is something known as hyperparameter tuning, that you guys have did maybe in terms of machine learning to tune your parameters. But yeah, here we are going to use a concept of, I can say, Keras tuner. Keras is a library. We will be going to talk about Keras, what is Keras and how we are going to use this Keras. But first of all, using Keras tuner, we are going to tune this kind of numbers, like as number of hidden layers and number of neurons in this each and every layers. We are going to tune this two types of factors using Keras tuner, and in that way we are going to decide how many layers we will be having in between. Okay, fine. Now we are having some kind of idea, overview about these things. Now come here. Here I have given some kind of write-ups. Try to understand these things. So there are 3 different types of layer lies inside a neural network. The first one will be input layer, then hidden layers, then output layer. In input layer, number of perceptrons depends upon the total number of features available in the data set. As I have said, yeah, perceptrons of input layer receives the inputted data. In above case, row 1 is going to be inputted in input layer, then second row, third row, and so on. So what is happening? So first of all, this first row will try to enter inside the network, then second row will enter, then third row will enter, then fourth row will enter, and so on. We will try to keep entering this each and every records one by one inside the network, right, inside this input layer. Now guys, the main function of input layer is just only getting the inputs from dataset. Yeah, as I have said, so this layer is only responsible for getting inputs from your side, from your data. This inputted data goes to second layer of neural networks, hidden layer, in such a way that data from each perceptron of input layer goes inputted to each and every perceptrons of hidden layer. So what is happening here? So fine. So here you can try to see that we have connected each and every neurons of this layer to each and every neurons of this layer, and each and every neurons of this layer to each and every neurons of this layer. So what is happening in terms of neural networks architecture, guys? So basically each and every neurons of each and every layers will be get connected with their subsequent, their next layer neurons. So each and every neurons of this L0 layer will be connected with these neurons. Maybe this P1 is with P1, P1 with P2, P2 with P1, P2 with P2, P3 with P1, P3 with P2. So in this way we are going to connect these things. Then again this is connected with this and this is connected with this. So here we have, here we have connected these things in such a way that so each and every neurons of this layer will be getting connected with these neurons. Now what is happening? So this inputted data goes to second layer of neural networks, the hidden layer, in such a way that data from each perceptron of input layer goes inputted to each and every perceptrons of hidden layer. So what is happening? So suppose this row has been entered. So x1 will be 2, x2 will be 4, x3 will be 6. Now what will happen? So this particular input will come here, and then from here this particular input will try to go inside this neuron, right? Then what will happen in between? So in between we are introducing something like as W1 and B1. What is this W1 and B1? So this W1 and B1 are nothing but these are weights and biases, or we can say these are the parameters. So as you can try to recall from your machine learning classes, that they are in each and every algorithms we are having some kind of parameters, like as maybe in a linear regression there is m, your slope, c, your intercept. In a similar way here we are having some kind of parameters. So these are the parameters, and we have introduced these parameters in between the connections. So what will happen? So when this 2 will be getting inside this neuron, this 2 will getting passed through this connection, and in this connection what will happen? So try to understand. We are going to multiply this input with this weight. Weight means W1. We are going to multiply with this weight, and this each and every parameter will be a kind of, I can say, number. This will be a kind of number, integers, or maybe floating point number, anything it will be. So we are getting some kind of number in terms of weights and in terms of some biases. So what we will do? We will try to multiply this input with this weight, and then in that product we are going to add this particular bias. So what will happen? So this will happen. Weight 1, this is the weight 1, and this is the x1 input. So weight 1, actually it will try to create a confusion, guys. So basically what I will try to do, so just to try to place these things, just wait. Yeah, I think now it will work. Oh shit. So what I will try to do, right, so here it will be 1, and then I will try to place this one. Yeah, fine, good. So here what is happening? So this particular, again I have did the same work. Okay, fine, just wait, I have did the same thing actually. Yeah, so this x1 input is getting multiplied with W1 weight, right? This x1 input is getting multiplied with with w1 weight, x1 multiplied with w1, and then this b1 bias is getting added. And now in this term, in this case, we are going to get a linear mix of input. This is a kind of linear mix of input, because if we can try to, if you will be able to recall about your linear regression, so there is something you will be able to get. Y will be m into x and plus, I think, c. So I think this is the equation, guys, you have used inside your linear regression class, right? So I think the same thing we are going to use here. So mx plus c. So this mx plus c is what? This mx plus c is a kind of linear relationship, and the same thing we are trying to do here. So this w1 is what? This w1 is your m, means your it means your slope, because in terms of equation of a line, in equations of a line, we are going to have two things: m slope and c intercept. So m slope is getting denoted with m. So this m is the slope, and the same thing we are trying to do here. This weight is a kind of slope, you can try to understand in this way, and this intercept will be b1, because again, see, I am not saying weights and biases are slopes and intercepts, but actually what was happening in terms of a linear regression. So there we are having weights and there we are having slope and intercepts as our biases, and we are having slope and intercepts as our parameters, and in the same way we are having weights and biases as our parameters. So we are going to use this kind of parameter, right? So these weights and biases are some kind of parameters which we are going to use. Fine. Now we are going to use this particular linear kind of input to pass into this layer. So this linear mix of input will enter inside this neuron as its input. Now what will happen? The same input will go inside this neuron. Just wait, guys. Okay, so the same input too will try to go inside this neuron also. So what will happen? So in this connection you will be able to get, there is w2 weight, there will be b2 bias. So we are going to multiply 2 with w2, or maybe x1 with w2, and we are going to add b2. So x1 into w2 plus b2, and this linear mix of inputs will get inside this neuron. Now here x2, so x2 into w3 plus b3 will get inside this neuron, and same will happen here, same will happen over here, same will happen over here. And in this way we are going to calculate a linear mix of inputs by multiplying our inputs with the weights and adding our biases, and in this way we are going to prepare the linear mix of inputs, and this linear mix of inputs will getting inside this particular neuron. Right now, yeah, okay, fine. Okay, weights and bias are learnable parameters, and they are added to get patterns. Yeah, weights and bias are learnable parameters, and they are added to get patterns by making relations in dataset more easily. Yeah, so actually people have said that if we are going to introduce this kind of hidden layer or dense layer, so adding a hidden layer or dense layer is fine, we will be able to do some kind of processing, but actually in terms of machine learning, what we guys were doing, we were trying to plotting different kinds of graphs. We were plotting different kinds of graphs, and what was the purpose behind drawing all those graphs? So we were plotting all those things just for getting the relationship, just for getting an idea that what is the type of relationship is available in between our data set, in between our data points. But here in deep learning, people have said no, we are not supposed to do any kind of plottings, any kind of EDA or feature engineering kind of things here. If your data set is pre-processed, just try to ingest your data inside a neural networks, and this neural network will be able to decide, it will be able to track the pattern, it will be able to get the relationship with itself. You are not supposed to do these things with yourself. No, there is no any human intervention is required, nothing. This neural networks will be able to understand each and every pattern, it will be able to detect each and every relationships. And so for those things, for keeping those things in a mind, they have introduced this in between parameters. So these parameters are introduced only for those kind of purposes. This is the weight, this is the bias, and these parameters will getting assigned only for getting a kind of relationship. If we are not having these parameters, there will not be easy, and there will not be possible to get any kind of relationship, because these parameters will try to train itself according to the data, and it will try to give you a final relationship. So these parameters, I can say, these are very important for getting a relationship between your data, right? If we have only two layers, that is input layer and output layer, whatever data we passes to input layer will be outputted based on output functions, and with no parameters it is very difficult to find the relationship between the data set. Okay, fine. So as I was saying that if we will be having only the input layer, only the output layer, then whatever data we will try to ingest in the network, same thing will getting passed. So again, what we are doing, so in terms of a hidden layer, each and every hidden layer, we are going to use some kind of functions, right? Why we are going to use some kind of functions? So we are using some kind of functions which will be, which will try to do some kind of pre-processing, some kind of processing, which will try to give some kind of, values. So for that purpose, we are using some kind of functions. And in terms of output layer, we are also using some kind of functions which will be able to give you a final output. So the function we are going to use inside this hidden layer is known as activation function, and the function which is getting used inside this output layer is getting known as output function. Both functions are I can say both functions will be a kind of mathematical functions, and same functions we can try to use at both places, but in terms of layer, if we are using those functions inside a dense layer or maybe hidden layer, they will be termed as activation function, and if inside a output layer, those functions will be named as output function. So based on that output function, whatever output we are going to get, that output we are going to get from this particular output layer. Fine. So I think guys, this was the general brief overview about this neural networks architecture. I think you will be having some kind of idea. Again, there are various kind of things. So now I will try to keep these things just here. I think it's already too much timing, I think. So basically I will try to keep these things actually I think I will not going to discuss too much things for today. I will just keep it from here. So in tomorrow session, maybe I will be going to discuss this feed forward connection. There is something FFN feed forward connection or feed forward network. So we are going to discuss these things. So there will be two things. Feed forward connection. In feed forward connection, feed forward connection will try to ingest your data. Each and every processing will be happen. Then we are going to use this activation functions, and then output functions, and then finally we will be getting some kind of predictions y hat. So this FFN is, this feed forward connection is responsible for getting you this output, this prediction. Then after this FFN, there will be, I think, backward propagation comes to picture. So backward propagation is what? So actually when we will be able to get some kind of prediction, so it's not always like, you know, in terms of machine learning also. So in machine learning, so basically if we are going to build anything, maybe there is a very high chances, very huge possibilities that your model will not give you accurate result. That's why whatever predictions we are going to get from the model, that is the y hat, and we are having some actual values of y actual values of y and predictions of y hat. So we are going to calculate a loss between this actual y and predicted y, and in that way we are going to calculate that, okay fine, how much we are accurate, how far we are from the target, how much improved results we are getting from the model, and then we will be going to calculate some kind of losses. There are different kinds of loss functions available, right? So in ffn we will be going to study about some different kinds of activation functions. So basically there is, you know, multiple activation functions available, like a sigmoid function, tanh function, hypotangent function, ReLU function, Licky ReLU function, then there is p-ReLU function, e-ReLU function, Swiss function, there is softmax function, there is max out function, there is soft plus function. So there are some 9 or 10 different kind of activation functions available, and we will try to talk about each and everything in a very detail. Then there will be various kinds of loss functions available as well. Maybe loss functions or maybe cost function will be available. So L1 loss, L2 loss, or maybe as in terms of machine learning we will be going to, you know, study about we have a study about MSE loss, MAE loss, RMSE loss. So there are also different kinds of loss functions available here. So we will be going to study that, okay fine, these are the different losses. So basically L1 loss, L2 loss, Huber loss, Haing loss, or maybe your I can say there are some different loss functions available for classification task. So there will be what I can say, there will be cross entropy loss, there will be categorical cross entropy loss, there will be a sparse categorical cross entropy loss. So something, there are different kind of loss functions will be available. We will try to get all of those things. Then after calculating the loss, there is a process getting happen, you know, that process is known as backward propagation. So as I can try to, you know, show you this architecture. So this is a, I can say this is a little bit clumsy, so maybe I will try to open here. Yeah, fine, I think I have to go with full screen mode. Fine, yeah, good. So here guys, this is a kind of, I can say, neural networks architecture. There will be lots of terms and terminologies involved here in between. So we are going to use each and every kind of things, and at the end of your ffn, at the end of your feed forward connection, you are going to get a kind of predictions, that is your y hat. Then after getting this y hat, we are going to use a kind of loss function. Then we will be able to calculate a kind of loss. This loss is going to be sent to a kind of optimizer. Optimizer is a mechanism which is getting used inside neural networks architecture. This optimizer will try to, you know, this optimizer will try to optimize your network connections. Connections means what? Connections means in terms of these parameters, this parameter, I mean weights and biases parameters. So this optimizer will try to optimize your network connections based on this particular loss. Whatever loss you are able to get, you are getting based on this loss, we are going to optimize the whole parameters. So we will be, for this purpose, we will be going to use this kind of optimizers. So basically in terms of optimizers, there are various. There is I can say each and every optimizers are gradient based optimizers basically. So there may be batch gradient descent, maybe BGD, MBGD, mini batch gradient descent, SGD, stochastic gradient descent. There may be some I can say some differential based, maybe I can say Newton's method again. Then there may be some kind of momentum based optimizers, like as I can say NAG optimizer. There will be ADA grade optimizer. There will be ADA delta optimizer. RMS prop is there. ADAM is there. NADAM is there. ADA max is there. So there is many more optimizers available, and we can go to, we will try to study each and everything in a much detailed way. After doing this kind of optimizers, using those things, we are going to do a kind of back propagation. Back propagation is a kind of mechanism where we are going to move in opposite direction, in this opposite direction. Try to see here this direction of this arrow, it's in opposite direction, and here we are going to change the weights of this network. Whatever network we are using, we are supposed to change the weights of this network. What we will do, we will try to use a kind of chain rule. Maybe in terms of differentiation, there is a chain rule. So using that kind of chain rule for differentiation, we are going to update these weights, this weight, or means we are going to update these weights in a layer by layer manner. So first of all, we will try to update here in this layer, then in this layer, then in this layer. So back propagation will happen, and in this back propagation we will try to update the values of these parameters, because in very beginning we don't have any idea that what will be the values of these parameters, and at that point of time we have just started each and every parameters with a random kind of values. These weights, these biases are just having random values, and using this back propagation we are going to update those random values based on this loss function. Then in this way we are going to get a new values for our parameters. So each and everything will get updated, and then what will happen, then again we will try to go with a feed forward connection. We will try to ingest the whole data inside the network again, and this time we are not going to use random values, but we will be going to use updated values of all those parameters. So whatever updates we have made now, we are going to utilize all those updates of those parameters, and in this I think in this feed forward connection, at second time we are going to use those updated values. Again we will reach here, we will get some kind of y hat, we will calculate loss, again we will send it to optimizer, again optimizer will try to do back propagation. In this way again we will try to update these things layer by layer, again feed forward connection will happen. And guys, one feed forward connection and one backward propagation, both processes are combinedly together combinedly known as, I can say, one epoch. So if we can talk about one feed forward connection or a backward propagation, so this whole cycle is known as one epoch. And how many times you are going to send a data inside your network for training, for learning, we are going to decide these things in terms of epoch. We will try to study these all things in a very detailed manner in our future classes. So there will just try to wait for those classes. Again, this architecture is too much clumsy, I mean too much hectic for understand, because again there are too many things involved here, and without knowing each and everything I will not come here at this point, because you will have to study about activation functions first, loss functions, then optimizers, and then we will come to talk about how training happens, and in this way After studying all those things, then we will be able to understand each and everything in a easiest possible way, guys. So basically there are different kind of things again available. So basically we will study each and everything, and in this manner whenever we will be able to get this theoretical context, then I can say we will be going with its practical implementation. We will try to select a data set, and then we will try to fit a model, sorry, we will try to design an architecture first of all, then we will try to get our predictions. We will try to train these things. We will try to use some kind of tuning, some kind of, I can say, hyper parameter tuning kind of concept here also. We will try to see each and every aspects. So guys, I think this is all from my side for today. I'm not going to explain lots of things here, because here there are a hell lots of mathematics are involved here. So if you guys maybe actually it's too much hectic, too much difficult to understand each and everything, so I will just be moving in a very, I can say, very slower way, because what is actually, in terms of this deep learning, there is one term, that is learning rate. And this learning rate, using this learning rate, we are going to control the whole training process. So whatever network we are going to train, this will, its a speed will getting calculated in terms of a learning rate, or maybe in terms of a learning rate we are going to control the training process, how this training will going to be happen. So learning rate will comes to picture. And according to the Google Tensor Board is a kind of, I think maybe a product of Google. So they are we will try to actually go with each and everything. So basically, according to the Google Tensor Board, learning rate for training a neural network architecture will lie in a range between 0.001 to 10. It should not be greater than 10 or not be lesser than this value, because if we will be having very lesser value, I think you are not going to make any kind of learning. If I am going to take 10 years or maybe 1 years just for explaining a simple thing about only this feed forward connection, maybe you will not able to learn in a much better way. So your learning rate should not be too much lesser, and your learning rate should not be too much greater. So if I am going to explain each and everything just in a 2 hour, 4 hour, or maybe in a day, I think you will not be able to understand each and everything efficiently. So in a similar way, this learning rate is getting implemented in terms of AI, in terms of neural networks, or in terms of our learning. So I will just try to keep this learning rate, I can say, not too much great, not too much, I can say, less, but yeah, it will depend. And I will just try to keep these things as simple as it will be easy to able to digest these things in a much better way. So I think this is all from my side, guys. Now try to go with the recordings, and if you think you are going to enjoy this video sessions, these lectures, I think maybe try to give some kind of likes, because again I have just started this initiative to give this kind of interactive sessions. Again, this is not interactive one, but maybe a kind of advanced sessions. And in this series we are going to bring different kinds of video series, videos here, which will be very much important. So try to give at least one like, because again if you will give some kind of likes, it will try to motivate us, and then again we will try to contribute with in a much better way. So give likes, and also if you are new here, try to subscribe the channel, and maybe in future I will be coming with some more interesting videos regarding computer vision, maybe regarding NLP, and then you will get each and everything here at this platform. So try to subscribe the channel, and in that way guys, mm, yeah, so now I will try to meet you in our next session. Okay, fine guys, so I think I have to sign out from here, and see you later. So bye. Try to go with the recordings, and try to share its link, try to share this video links to each and everybody who is wishing to make its make his career transition into deep learning, or maybe machine learning, or maybe into data science, or maybe into AI. So okay guys, thanks. Fine, we will meet later.